In recent years, this country's gone to hell, and the crack's getting bigger on the side of that Liberty Bell. Well, Clinton, Obama, and the Democratic crew sure did a number on me and you. It wasn't my vote, you can blame yourselves for that. But we got a chance to turn things around if you get your butt up off the ground and understand we're all gonna have to work. This big old country was built on sweat, and if we're gonna make it great again, you're gonna get wet. But the first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And to hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, we'll all go, and the wall will get built by Mexico. But first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. He understands the working man, tells the truth that we can understand. If you don't like it, you can all just kiss our ass. Kiss our ass. He pays his own way, don't take no crap. Gonna bring back country, get rid of rap. And if nothing else, we can all thank Donald for that. Thank you, Donald. Vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. To hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, we'll all go, and the wall will get built by Mexico. But the first thing first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Well, little Marco and Lion Ted, it's time to go home and crawl in bed. The campaign's over and the big fat ladies sing. And Hillary Clinton don't stand a chance with her preacher hair and her old man pants. Take Bill home, good God, he's getting old. Now let's vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Yeah, to hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, baby, we'll all go, and the wall getting built by Mexico. But first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Jesus says, vote for Trump.
tyrants and tyrannies. Our generation has tried to separate freedom from virtue. Freedom is celebrated as progress, while morals and virtues have become scorned. America needs bold, biblical-based leadership now more than ever. We will boldly proclaim our belief in the gospel. We will defend the sanctity of life and traditional family values. We'll spread compassion for the poor, stand for personal freedom, and oppose government attacks on faith. We will support the Constitution and its power to liberate the enslaved and raise the torch of freedom. We will empower a generation of young conservatives that will stand for virtue just as they stand for freedom. Welcome to the Centennial Institute's Western Conservative Summit, boldly advancing faith, family, and freedom.
Please welcome the chairman of the Western Conservative Summit, Jeff Hunt.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the 7th Annual Western Conservative Summit. Are you excited this morning? You know, we are proud at the Centennial Institute and the Western Conservative Summit to stand for faith, family, and freedom. We're not ashamed of that at all. Last night, Kyle Clark from 9 News said that this is the political epicenter for the world right now. The world's eyes are on the Western Conservative Summit. And I want to tell the whole world how proud we are of our faith, of our family, and our freedom. So we're gonna do a little interaction this morning and get started here, okay? So when I point over here, I want everybody, as loud as you can, to say faith, okay? And then everybody here in the middle, when I point to you, you're going to go family. And then everybody over here, I want you to give your very best William Wallace Brexit freedom. All right? So let's let the whole world hear this. Are you guys ready? Woo! Let's do it again. One more time. Yeah, there we go. I love it. Great job. You know, we're here because of two men that got together to create this, Bill Armstrong and John Andrews. They started this 7 years ago. Absolutely. Give them a round of applause. 7 years ago, a handful of folks, a few hundred, met in a hotel room in southern Denver, and we've grown to be this today, the epicenter of conservatism outside of Washington, D.C., and I'm just so proud of the great work that Bill Armstrong and John Andrews have done to get us to this point. Absolutely. So I know we're starting off with a big production this morning, but I want to talk about the Western Conservative Summit over the next 2 days so that you understand everything that's going to be happening. We're going all the way to Sunday, and we have a lot of great speakers. We're going to start with Donald Trump. Any Donald Trump fans in the house today? I love it. We're also going to hear from Sarah Palin. Any Sarah Palin fans? Nice. So we're going to start the morning there. We have workshops right after this, and then we're going to go into the evening session. We have a lot of great speakers this evening. If you've ever heard of the Becket Fund, I am very excited. We're going to introduce you to Christina Arriaga this evening. The Becket Fund is the tip of the spear in fighting for religious liberty. They were the ones that took on the Obama administration in the Hobby Lobby case. They were the ones that took on the Obama administration in the Little Sisters of the Poor case. They are the Navy SEALs of religious freedom. When you need them, they come in and they rescue you and preserve that important constitutional right. So we're going to hear from them this evening. Eric Metaxas, Hugh Hewitt. We also have the winner of our national under 30 speech contest. And that's just the first day. Tomorrow we have Tom Cotton, Ryan Anderson, Lila Rose, Frank Gaffney, Dennis Prager, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty. It just keeps going and going and going. And then Sunday, we're going to do it a little different this year. If you've been to the summit before, you're going to notice a difference on Sunday. Sunday, we're going to church. And we have Pastor John MacArthur from Grace to You Ministries. He's coming. So Sunday's going to be a lot of fun, too. So make sure that you stick through the whole weekend and you take advantage of this. You know, last year I was watching Bill Armstrong's speech at the Western Conservative Summit, and he said, we're surrounded by thousands of friends from all over the country, coast to coast, that have come here to be together. And I'll finish with this, in the words of Bill Armstrong, welcome to paradise. So let me introduce the person who's going to kick it off, our Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Sherry Parks. Welcome, Dr. Parks.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome on behalf of Colorado Christian University's President, Bill Armstrong, the Board of Trustees, faculty, and staff. Welcome, and thank you for coming to this historic event. Hold on to your seats. The 2016 Western Conservative Summit is in session. Let me introduce two students who will lead us in prayer and in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Mikhail Jaco is a young conservative leadership conference leader and a CCU student majoring in education. Molly Tynan is a 1776 scholar majoring in accounting and finance. Please stand.
Good morning. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to start this summit by thanking you for this beautiful Friday morning in Denver, Colorado. This state serves as a wonderful reminder of your glory and craftsmanship. Thank you, Lord, for the gift of the United States and the freedoms that we all enjoy and cherish. We pray for our country as our liberties and security continue to be threatened at home and abroad. We come before you, asking that you give us the courage to never give up on our founding fathers' vision, that all men are created equal and are endowed by you certain inalienable rights. Lord, be with our servicemen and women, police officers, firefighters, and first responders as they put themselves in harm's way to protect us and our liberties. We are extremely grateful for those who have lost their lives serving in the line of duty. Let their memory and sacrifice never be forgotten. We urge that you give wisdom to the citizens in the United States as they vote in the upcoming election. Provide for the safety for all of the candidates, and let this campaign process serve as a tool for us to spread the message of liberty and justice in a clear manner. I also want to pray for our current leaders in Washington, in each state capital, as well as the most local of government entities. Give them wisdom as they make decisions on behalf of the American people. And though we may often disagree, let us not forget that we are still united as citizens of these United States of America. Lord, build a hedge of protection around every individual that will be attending the 2016 Western Conservative Summit. We pray that the attendees will leave the summit having deepened their understanding of the principles that have made America such a great nation. We ask that this conference will strengthen their ability to serve as advocates for your truth. And finally, Lord, above all, we hope that you are glorified this weekend, this year, and in all that we do. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They've been here at every summit. Please welcome the Legacy Quartet.
Please stand with us. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now you may be seated. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. I have seen him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening dews and damps. I can read his righteous sentence by the dim and flaring lamps. His day is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His day is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom that transfigured you and me. As he died to make men whole, holy. Let us die to make man free, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on with liberty, justice, freedom for all, marching on.
Please welcome State Representative Clarice Navarro.
Good morning, Colorado conservatives. I'm State Representative Clarice Navarro, and I proudly represent the great people in Southern Colorado, where we are rich in history and culture, and we have a critical desire to fight for all that is great about America. What makes my district in Colorado so special are the hearts of the people I represent. They believe in personal accountability and personal responsibility, and they believe in hard work. They believe in this country, and the liberal progressives are not getting us where we need to be. To the media in this room, and I know you're here, take a special note. I'm a mom, I'm hardworking, I am not wealthy. I am a conservative Hispanic woman, and I am ready to make America great again. Let me be clear. I will be supporting Donald Trump as the Republican nominee for president. If there is a question about my credentials, please allow me to elaborate. My endorsement matters. I have an A rating with the NRA, I have an A rating with every pro-life group, and I have a record of fighting for every taxpayer in this room. And perhaps a few of you in this room have heard of a little group called Principles of Liberty. I have an A rating with them as well. So when I speak, and when I acknowledge, and when I endorse, please know it comes with backing, power, and a whole lot of street cred. We all know that the burdensome government regulations are not the answer to making America great again. I am tried and true, and I walk the talk, just as the lady does that I'm about to introduce to you this morning. I have 2 words for you, Colorado, and think about this long and hard. Supreme Court. As a former governor of Alaska and the former vice presidential nominee, I have the honor of welcoming to the Western Conservative Summit a conservative political icon, a lady of courage, a lady of her word, and a lady who is ready to make America great again. Please welcome Governor Sarah Palin.
Yes, a small town mayor is sort of like a community organizer, except that you have actual responsibilities. Those hockey moms, you know, they say the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
That entrepreneurial spirit that God creates within us in order to work and to produce and to strive and to thrive and to really be alive in the greatest country on earth. I want America to win.
I will be honored to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States. It's always, though, safer in politics to avoid risk, to just kind of go along with the status quo. But I didn't get into government to do the safe and easy things. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not why the ship is built.
Ladies and gentlemen, the conservative icon, Sarah Palin.
Thank you so much, Colorado. Thank you so much for being here, for fighting for what is right. I really appreciate being here and appreciate Representative Navarro's introduction. Privileged to meet her and her family, her beautiful girls, Christina and Georgie. And she is just such a great voice and face and heart for Colorado. I love being in Colorado, you know, where you're tasting the Rockies and waiting for the mountains to turn blue, right? I do love Colorado. It reminds me so much of home. Also very excited to know that we're in the presence, not physically right at this moment, but hopefully soon he'll be addressing the summit, in the presence of Colorado's next great senator, Darrell Glenn. I am in awe of this man's accomplishments and his willingness to serve on a new battleground now. We need Darrell's military might and his ethos so that America can be made great again. So thank you for sharing him with the rest of the United States, Colorado. Well, I just returned from speaking at an event much unlike this event. It was full of folks who weren't really big fans of someone like a Darrell Glenn or a Donald Trump or me, you, maybe any common sense conservative. And that's okay because I love the challenge of not just singing to the choir, and I love mostly the topic that they gave me. It was, how is Trump winning? More specifically, it was, why, oh, why is Trump winning? And I told him, you know, it's really funny to me to see the splody heads keep exploding over this movement because it seems so obvious. Darrell wins, Trump wins, America will win because voters are so sick and tired of being betrayed. Politicians campaign one way and they govern another, and that's become status quo. So enough voters finally said enough, that the status quo has got to go. It's like my dad's pickup truck. He's got a bumper sticker and it says, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I am an American and I want my country back. Dad's truck, it speaks for the silenced majority. Well, millions have awakened, as I explained to the other crowd. Millions have awakened to the reality of our economy's trajectory and our standing on the world stage and our measures of security. And we said, Washington is so broken. Our government is out of control. So for such a time as this, we rise up to tear down what it is that keeps us from our destiny as an exceptional nation, that beacon for other nations that are striving for peace and prosperity. It is time. It is our time. So let's go fix it. Knowing, though, the rapidity of this transformation of America, the piled-on problems, and most tragically, sensing the people's hope deferred, voters knew that, well, the only way to fix this is with a revolution. So we sought a revolutionary. We paid attention. We did our own homework versus relying on the media to vet candidates for us. We asked, who is not part of the problem? Who's got the record of success that's due respect and the attention needed to run for president? Who's got nothing to lose but knows that our very sovereignty is to gain? Who'd be beholden to no one but we, the people? Who is not for sale, not palling around with crony capitalists, in bed with special interests, but screwing the American people? Who's not cuffed by the politically correct police? Well, we wanted someone with guts to say not what he thought we wanted to hear, but really what the nation needs to hear. So yeah, we asked, who's not been part of the problem? Now, 8 years ago, I warned that Barack Obama's promised fundamental transformation of America, it was going to make government bigger and take more from you and give more orders from Washington and really reduce our strength in a dangerous world. And it is the one promise that he kept. And every thinking American now knows the repercussions. So thinking Americans sought and watched Donald Trump rip the veil off a rigged system that has betrayed your average, everyday, hard-working, garden variety, ticked-off American. And there are more of us than the disconnected left can ever even fathom. Trump's outsider status, where he explains he got to see how both sides work, that let him become a new standard bearer for a grassroots populist movement that's fertilized by the still passionate Tea Party in all its glorious independence. Voters really disgusted with the audacity of duplicity, well, where corporate elites bankroll campaigns, and with such disloyalty to the American worker, they actually arrange our political landscapes for their interests. Well, we found a messenger, and he wasn't found among the politicians insisting that they be elected and reelected, lest they have to come home and join us peasants under the laws that they passed but exempted themselves from. Well, armed with secure identities as Americans, people of all persuasions jumped on board the Trump train. Chugging along on the primary trail, defying conventional wisdom of the, I say it with, I guess, all due respect, the loser consultants. And I term them loser consultants because they keep losing election after election after election. It's fitting. Well, defying that wisdom, Trump shattered voter turnout records. And like a golden wrecking ball, he shattered walls in the good old boys club. He knocked out the hypocritical intolerance that dares stymie freedom of speech with intimidation and those false accusations of sexism and racism just to stop debate. Now, those accusers, we saw a bunch of them this morning coming out of the hotel. Those accusers are the silly protesters at Trump rallies. You know, we've been telling him he should hold his rallies at his construction sites. You know, protesters aren't going to show up at a job site. Did you know some of those rebel rousers, they're actually paid protesters? So there you go, not even president yet, and our guy's already creating jobs. Well, they have tried that tired, worn, war on women warpath to jump on, and I asked, Trump supporters? We're anti-woman? Huh? anti-liberal woman who blew it in Benghazi and BS'd in Bosnia and buffaloed business with her quid pro quo deals and hid emails in some dude's bathroom. That kind of woman? Yeah, sure. But women in general, certainly not. Well, momentum on this train, it built as the GOP wing of the Good Old Boys Club whispered actually that they'd throw in for Hillary against the will of the people in their own primary. And this exposed the establishment's con game. I know none of you are a part of it or you wouldn't be here today, again, fighting for what's right. I hope you're not part of it or you're going to be really ticked off at me with what I say next. The establishment's con game. See, more Americans were learning it doesn't matter to the Beltway bubble boys and girls which side actually wins elections as long as they get to keep their titles and their ratings and their power and their purses full. They win and we lose. Well, we drove right over that and we drove over those desperate darts flying at our front runner like the critics crying, oh, Trump's not conservative enough. What would they know about common sense conservatism? What does handing Obama a blank check to run up trillion-dollar deficits with no end in sight and pushing endless wars with no path to victory and inviting millions of unvetted illegals through our Swiss cheese borders to replace American workers and wanting amnesty for millions of new Democrat voters, what's that got to do with conservatism? The establishment, those profiles and pudding, they bent over for all those things, and now they fret about ideological purity? Well, they got busted. So they panicked, and then they started feeding the left this idea that, well, all we had to fuel this movement was anger. Really, that's some gall that they're lecturing us that we're too passionate about our country. Yeah, they stomp on our neck and then tell us to just chill out. Well, darn right, voters are mad. It's righteous indignation. But what the professional political class really can't handle is knowing really that the movement is more than anger. It's an optimistic, sensible, building up the people agenda, and that is good change. But to them, it's a threat. You know who's threatened? Those GOPers who insist that they'll never vote for their party's choice this time. They call themselves, that gang, they call themselves the never hashtag, the whatever. Okay. Oh, well, I just call them Republicans Against Trump, or RAT for short. They want to take their Nuggets ball home and stay home instead of vote because their guy didn't win this time around. Now, I shouldn't call them thumbsuckers because they're not all bad. I'm kidding, they are. And Hillary thanks them because she cannot win without them. Folks, we're talking about our sovereignty here, our solvency and security, our entire invaluable system of law and order in a republic bought with patriots and vets, blood, sweat, and tears. This isn't a game, nor some drama to be played out on the convention stage. No, they're playing with dynamite and arming those opposed to the planks in the platform upon which Lincoln and Reagan stood. We're talking about the direction of our country, our children's future, the direction of the Supreme Court, all of this hinging on the next election. And at such a time as this, you cannot be lukewarm. We're going to take our country back, and you're either with us or you're against us. it back from those who lie. The professional politicos who really don't suffer but profit with open borders. They don't suffer but profit moving jobs overseas. They don't suffer but profit when lobbyists push reckless foreign policy. They profit from boondoggles like the Republicans' omnibus and Democrats' Obamacare, who give lip service to an oath in office, but really we can't even trust them right now to defend our rights. Look at the Second Amendment attacks recently. You know, after Obamacare's lie, did we not learn his lie that, you like your doc, you can keep your doc? Now it's you like your Glock, you can keep your Glock? Well, after being beaten down and divided up, voters sought plans then to rebuild our United States. We looked for a builder. We found a builder. Trump looks up and he builds big. Ask yourself, what have his critics ever built? And Trump connects. An unabashed billionaire. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yet he still respects our hard hats and steel-toed boots. He knows that men in denim built this country, but DC suits and pantsuits destroy it. He gratefully shakes the skilled, calloused hand and hugs tight the essential blue collar. And he salutes in awe of sacrifice the American in uniform. It's connection through appreciation. He's not running because he's bedazzled by the trappings of office. No, sincerely, he is in awe of the beauty of all of you, of everyone willing to do their part to restore America, to make it great again. He's on the side of Joe Sixpack, where I come from, and he says to us, I worked hard, I succeed, I want you to succeed too. And knowing what it takes, he says, I want you to work. And here's how we'll do it together to make America great again. And that is the fabric of America's character, woven by work ethic and dreams and drive. That's America. And that's what the media is missing, and what the group, many participants in the group I just spoke to, that's what they're missing. They don't get it. No, we defend him, media. We defend him because he defends us. Take those, the ugly, ugly charge of racism. This is so ridiculous. Trump has been covered in the spotlight for decades. Years and years, showing so many of his friends and colleagues of every race, color, and creed, great relationships with them all. And see, the press knows that, because they're the ones who did the covering of him. And Trump was never called a racist until he decided to run against the Democrats. And that is that's the way that the dirty side of this business works. Believe me. So, now, with him, we who are determined to clean up the crap spewed by hypocrites playing politics of personal destruction, no, together, we call them out. We call out the liars because we're going to make America great again. And this movement is exactly that. And this movement is about the providence honored in our Constitution. Trump is with us in withholding the oath, swearing to uphold what it is that has created our declarations of liberty. Trump will put America's blueprint first to strengthen us, especially as we face existential threats that others would ignore. The biggest, most sinister threat, it's Islamic ideology. That is ISIS. That is the death cult. The death cult that isn't even acknowledged with accurate verbiage from leftists with their heads left in the sand. And despite all the bloody evidence of a ghastly dogma, Obama won't admit that Islam put the I in ISIS. It is a clash of civilization that is our long twilight struggle. But if you transplant to your shores a foreign population that is hostile to the very things that your country stands for, you won't have a country for long. You can't have peaceful democracy with people who hate democracy, or a culture respecting life with anyone who would love death more than life. And that's not hate speech, it's common sense. As is understanding that when someone screams allegiance to Sharia law and screeches Allah Akbar, death to America, he means you and yours. What does the left think that he means? Well, because of all this, the movement grew with Americans really getting sick and tired of those accusations of being anti-legal immigrant. We are a nation so generous in humanitarianism. We've taken in 6 times more migrants than all of Latin America combined. We look up at Lady Liberty and we read, she is inviting the tired, the poor, the huddled masses. But we don't stop there. We keep reading. Read the rest. She's saying, welcome, you yearning to breathe free. Those who don't yearn for America's freedoms, sustained by following our rule of law, but instead yearn for child brides and female mutilation and killing all gays and non-believers and refusing assimilation and demanding that the American culture change into the culture that they claim they had to escape from. No, our national instinct to do good is beautiful, but that kind of humanitarianism, it's self-destructive. So too is straying from what we know works economically, time-tested economic truths that have been able to build this country and allow us to be prosperous. We desperately need leaders who understand conditions that create wealth and that they will favor those conditions. And that's energy independence, and it's limited government, letting the private sector innovation soar. That creates opportunities. That's what creates jobs, and less entitlement mentality that is eroding America's work ethic. No, those time-tested economic truths, applying those and having a leader who understands it and has never been addicted to opium, other people's money. Opium is what we call it. Other people's money that politicians have been for too long addicted to. Not having that experience in the private sector to understand how to balance a budget. You know, those who are writing the paychecks and not taking from you and giving to others in really a socialist bent. Well, America wins by applying those time-tested economic truths that we know work. Right now, our nation, though, is not really winning. $20 trillion in debt with no end in sight, and enemies laughing at us, and allies not being able to trust us. We're going to get trampled if we just hire more of the same for more politics as usual. That's insane. Trump is winning because he will put you first, for Americans win again. It's why his rallies are all about winning. They're rowdy and they're fun and they're energizing. You've seen some of the left's rallies? Cranky, demanding, shrill. Vote for me. I make no sense and I'll never have to explain myself, but vote for me and you'll get all this free stuff. Those rallies? Hey, that's what happens when every kid gets a trophy. behalf of so many Americans, Colorado, I can't thank you enough for being in the fight for what is right and wanting to find someone to serve for the right reasons, not expecting to make a penny off of us like too many politicians are doing today, but instead, with a servant's heart. You don't have to be doing this for us. We should be thankful. Thank you for putting up with some of the things that you have to put up with amongst our own tent. I'm glad the tent is growing, though. I'm glad the tent is growing with people understanding, these common sense, time-tested principles and truths that will make America great again. We'll apply those. We just needed that revolutionary who's in the right position to lead us to that. So it's really, really good to be among friends here today, Colorado. It is you fueling the movement to get us going in the right direction. The vigilant hopped on and shocked the political class because it was the disaffected majority that they had left behind. More are coming aboard, telling the driver, Mr. Trump, carry our standard into battle. We're silenced no more. Thank you, Colorado, from the bottom of my heart. God bless you and God bless the United States of America.
Please welcome again the chairman of the Western Conservative Summit, Jeff Hunt.
Wasn't that incredible? Sarah Palin. Wow. Wow. That was remarkable. She came 2 years ago and did a fantastic job. We wanted to bring her back. Thank you for such a warm welcome. But she just hit a home run. What a great, great speech. Very proud of her. Want to talk about a few things real quick, and then we'll keep going. This year, we're going to be doing the vice presidential straw poll. So in past years, we've done presidential straw polls, except for in 2012 when Governor Romney had the nominee. We did a vice presidential straw poll. The world wants to know who you think the next vice president of the United States should be. So during free time, go out to the lobby. There's 2 iPads out there. You can vote for who you would like to be Donald Trump's running mate, okay? And that's going to be big when we announce that. So we want to hear from you, so make sure you vote out there. That's very, very important. Also, we have our own Summit app. So make sure you download the Summit app. It's called Guidebook. And when you search in Google Play or the iPhone store, you can download Guidebook and then type in WCS16 as the pass phrase, and you'll be able to download the Western Conservative Summit app. It has all the details about different breakout sessions, that type of information, so make sure you do that. I'm going to bring up, again, the Legacy Quartet, so please join me in welcoming Legacy.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, while we reign in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain America, the prairie America, to the ocean America white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America. My home, sweet home, sweet home.
Thank you, Legacy. On Saturday, we're going to honor Dennis Prager during the Stephen H. Long dinner on Saturday night. This is an annual award that we give out during our banquet dinner that's given to someone that provides exceptional visionary leadership in America. Dennis Prager is a nationally syndicated radio host, but he also created this YouTube channel called Prager University. Has anyone ever seen Prager University before? Yeah. We're going to show a video from Prager University because what Dennis has done with this YouTube channel is remarkable. Hundreds of millions of views all around small 5-6 minute clips that promote conservative values. He is shaping the culture. And shaping the culture is so critical to what we want to do. Writing a floor speech, arguing on the floor of the House or Senate is important, very important. If we really want to advance conservatism, we have to get to what people consume freely. We need to go upstream of politics into culture. And we know this. Oftentimes we battle against Hollywood because Hollywood pushes this liberal agenda that we sit back and we watch this with our kids and we go, what the heck is going on? So Dennis Prager has been challenging this and going against the culture by creating these little clips. And in a few minutes, we're going to show one of these clips, which is one of my favorites. It's by Dennis Prager, and it talks about the Ten Commandments and the impact of the Ten Commandments. So do we have Mr. Prager's video ready, team? I think they're loading it still. Mr. Trump's on his way.
In world history.
There we go. Thank you.
So changed the world for the better, as did the Ten Commandments. Western civilization, the civilization that developed universal human rights, created women's equality, ended slavery, created parliamentary democracy, among other unique achievements, would not have developed without them. As you will see when each of the Ten Commandments is explained, these commandments are as relevant today as when they were given over 3,000 years ago. In fact, they're so relevant that the Ten Commandments are all that is necessary to make a good world, a world free of tyranny and cruelty. Imagine for a moment a world in which there was no murder or theft, In such a world, there would be no need for armies or police or weapons. Men and women and children could walk anywhere at any time of day or night without any fear of being killed or robbed. Imagine further a world in which no one coveted what belonged to their neighbor, a world in which children honored their mother and father and the family unit thrived, a world in which people obeyed the injunction not to lie. The recipe for a good world is all there in these 10 sublime commandments. But there is a catch. The 10 Commandments are predicated on the belief that they were given by an authority higher than any man, any king, or any government. That's why the sentence preceding the 10 Commandments asserts the following: God spoke all these words. You see, if the 10 Commandments, as great as they are, were given by any human authority, then any person could say, "Who is this man Moses? Who is this king or queen? Who is this government to tell me how I should behave?" Okay, so why is God indispensable to the 10 Commandments? Because, to put it as directly as possible, if it isn't God who declares murder wrong, murder isn't wrong. Yes, this strikes many people today as incomprehensible, even absurd. Many of you are thinking, is this guy saying you can't be a good person if you don't believe in God? Let me respond as clearly as possible. I am not saying that. Of course there are good people who don't believe in God, just as there are bad people who do. And many of you are also thinking, I believe murder is wrong. I don't need God to tell me. Now, that response is only half true. I have no doubt that if you're an atheist, and you say that you believe murder is wrong, you believe murder is wrong. But forgive me, you do need God to tell you. We all need God to tell us. You see, even if you figured out murder is wrong on your own, without God and the 10 Commandments, how do you know it's wrong? Not believe it's wrong, I mean know it's wrong. The fact is, you can't. Because without God, right and wrong are just personal beliefs, personal opinions. I think shoplifting is okay, you don't. Unless there is a God, all morality is just opinion and belief. And virtually every atheist philosopher has acknowledged this. Another problem with the view that you don't need God to believe that murder is wrong is a lot of people haven't shared your view. And you don't have to go back very far in history to prove this. In the 20th century, millions of people in communist societies and under Nazism killed about 100 million people. And that doesn't count a single soldier killed in war. So don't get too confident about people's ability to figure out right from wrong without a higher authority. It's all too easy to be swayed by a government or a demagogue or an ideology, or to rationalize that the wrong you're doing isn't really wrong. And even if you do figure out what is right and wrong, God is still necessary. People who know the difference between right and wrong do the wrong thing all the time. You know why? Because they can. They can because they think no one is watching. But if you recognize that God is the source of moral law, you believe that He is always watching. So even if you're an atheist, you would want people to live by the moral laws of the 10 Commandments. And even an atheist has to admit that the more people who believe God gave them, and therefore they are not just opinion, the better the world would be. In 3,000 years, no one has ever come up with a better system than the God-based 10 Commandments for making a better world, and no one ever will. I'm Dennis Prager. Join Prager University, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for free at prageru.com.
Great. You can see why we gave Dennis Prager that award. He's pushing back on that So if you do want to attend the banquet dinner Saturday night, you still can buy a ticket. Just make sure you go out to the Centennial Institute booth out there. You can still join us tomorrow night with Mr. Prager. Mr. Trump is on his way. We got word that he has landed and he's on his way. So we're just waiting for him to arrive. He's going to come straight in, no pictures. He's coming straight in to give the speech. So we'll get him out here as soon as he arrives here. In the meantime, we'll have the Legacy Quartet come back up and entertain us with some of their good music. Thanks.
We are so blessed to be here with you today. We are Legacy Quartet, and my name is Steve Taylor. I'm Dean of the School of Music at Colorado Christian University. And for the past 7 years, we have had the honor of being at every single summit. And this one, we are so excited about, and we're so glad what the Lord is doing in our city, in our country, and in our university. So thank you so much for being here and for allowing us to be here with you. And anyone who's interested in music, I'd love to talk with you about the offerings we have at Colorado Christian University. This next song we'd like to do for you, I'm going to ask Doug Filter, our first tenor, to introduce.
So this is a song we do in some of our concerts all over the
Jesus is a rock, he's a rock, a shelter in time of storm.
The Lord's our rock, in him we hide,
a shelter
in the time of storm.
I will be secure, he's a rock,
whatever ill betide,
a shelter in the time of storm.
Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land.
Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land,
a shelter in the time of storm. He's my shelter.
Jesus is a rock, he's a rock,
he's a rock.
Storm. Ba-da, ba-da-da.
We didn't practice this one. I'm sorry. But we can...
Let's do that again.
We'll just do it again. Yeah.
That's what happens when you haven't sung a song like that for a little while.
He's a rock.
He's a rock. Jesus is a rock. He's a rock. A shelter in time of storm.
The Lord's our rock. In him we hide.
A shelter
in the time of storm.
I will be secure.
Whatever ill betide.
The shelter in the time of storm. Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A shelter
in the time of storm.
He's a rock. Jesus is a rock. He's a rock. A shelter in time of storm.
Shade by day, defense by night. He's a shelter in the time of storm.
No fears, no
fears alarm, no foes of pride.
time of storm. Whoa, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A weary land, here in this weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock in a weary land. A shelter in the time of storm. He's my shelter. The raging storms may round us beat. He's the shelter in the time of storm. We'll never, never leave our safe retreat. A shelter in the time of storm. He's a shelter. Oh, Jesus, He's a rock. He's a rock. In a weary land. Oh, Jesus is a rock. In a weary land. Oh, shelter in the time of storm. Jesus is a rock. Shelter in time of storm. He's a rock.
We have a track we've written together.
In New York Harbor,
All right, it looks like these guys are going to take for fucking ever just to keep singing and singing. So if you guys want to play the polling game, please press 1. And hello, by the way. Thank you for choosing us as your stream of choice. Alright, if you don't know how the polling game works, if you're new to our stream, basically I say a stance, and if you agree with it, you press 1. If you disagree with it, you press 2. The first one is, people should stop turning moral debates into legal debates. If you agree with that, press 1. If you disagree, press 2. Again, people should stop turning moral debates into legal debates.
To be relatively commercial free, but I thought I would like to start with a public service announcement, so here it is. I will follow future Senator Lieutenant Colonel Darrell Glenn into any fight he wants to fight to preserve a conservative Supreme Court. I believe in Darrell Glenn, and I know that he loves our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make America great again. This journey will be the ultimate test for free market principles. Our Creator gave us the greatest piece of real estate on this planet, so we should probably elect a president who knows something about real estate in order for us to leverage it into strong economic growth. By the way, it's not just real estate. It's real estate that holds the potential to solve our greatest problems because it has a vast array of minerals. It has timber and water and oil and gas. It has coal, the cleanest coal in the country, right here in Colorado. And we've got the soil to grow food in our agricultural industry, and we have many other advantages that we need to take advantage of. What we must do now is use those assets to solve our own problems first, and then negotiate how we trade with the rest of the world. Because you know what? It's always easier to negotiate when you're in a position of strength. Let's hire a great negotiator as President of the United States. A negotiator who understands that borders matter, and also what it means to have the better hand in a deal, so we stop giving away things that we don't need to give away, and that ultimately hurt us, like giving nuclear weapons to a terrorist state called Iran. In this country, we have great universities and highly educated people, along with exciting entrepreneurs, and their talent can create amazing tools and technologies to increase our quality of life and fix some of the biggest healthcare problems. The next decade and a half in America will be the greatest period of innovation in our history. But it can only happen if we understand that America works best when entrepreneurs are trusted to create a better future for us, not stifled by onerous regulation. Guess what? We should hire an entrepreneur and a builder to be president. One who understands what I'm talking about and who knows that successful risk-taking and overcoming failure without a bailout is part of what made America great in the first place. And guess what we don't need? We don't need someone who has sat inside a political bubble their entire life and never created a private sector job. Okay, maybe hiring a guy to maintain an email server off the books is a private sector job, but I'm not going to count that one until the FBI holds her responsible for it. We also don't need someone who thinks a free market is something Bernie Sanders created to distribute textbooks and college tuition at no cost. My fellow Americans, we must boldly move forward because we can. That is who we are and how we confront problems. For the past 7 years, we've been timid, passive, reluctant to claim our leadership role in the world. Well, I'm here to tell you that time has passed. Now it's time for 300 million Americans to dream of the life they want, to pursue the things that make them happy, because you know what? It's the pursuit of happiness that leads someone to understand why life and liberty are so important. As Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon, said, "If I can go to the moon, what can't you do?" And I agree with Gene. The question now is, where will we decide to go? And who will lead us? I'm telling you that I believe we need a leader who understands the value of America's assets, one who can negotiate from a position of strength, one that has earned through that position of strength that has been earned by the sacrifices made by men and women who serve our nation so admirably. We need a leader who understands entrepreneurship and innovation, who has created private sector jobs and fought against the regulations that limit the success of inspired people. And you know what? We need a leader who's bold enough to let the world know that America is back. Because you know what? We will be better served and the world will be better served when we make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Colorado welcome to the next President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
For those who've abandoned hope, we'll restore hope and we'll welcome them into a great national crusade to make America great again.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
We begin with breaking news. Our NBC News decision desk has confirmed that Donald Trump has reached the number of delegates needed to clinch the Republican nomination for president.
The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. We are going to make our country great again. We're going to take our country back from these people. We're going to take it back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, if I knew they had these teleprompters, I would have used them. I'm starting to love those teleprompters. You know, it's interesting. It's much easier when you have a teleprompter, and I'm getting great reviews with the teleprompters. When you stand up and you just go at it, it's much more exciting, however, I want to tell you. I think this crowd, I know the folks from Colorado and they're wild.
I think if I used a teleprompter with this crowd, they'd be out of here fast. They'd say, let's get out of here. So I just want to thank, this is a tremendous crowd. We really appreciate it. Set up pretty quickly. Well, so Colorado taught me a lot about politics. I learned a lot because polls came out that I was going to win Colorado and doing really well in Colorado and look good, and I was looking forward to it. And then all of a sudden I didn't get the delegates. I said, but what happened to the vote? Do you remember? And I started to learn. You know, quick learner. I'm a quick learner, but that was an amazing week. Do you remember that? And we had some of you folks probably were out there with a little picketing, a little craziness, and I think they'll probably end up changing. I think they're going to change it next year, and I think you're going to go out and actually vote. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you see what's happening, and I always say the system's rigged. It's rigged. And it's rigged against the people. It's not rigged for the special interest and the lobbyists and people that want certain things. I used to be one of them. Once I said, I'm running, all of a sudden I was like an outsider, a big outsider. But I'm glad I did it. Because you know what we have? We have a movement going on like they haven't seen maybe ever in this country, according to what the pundits are saying. And I tell the story where numerous people, Bill O'Reilly, not so long ago, a few weeks ago, said, it may be the single greatest political phenomena that I've seen in my lifetime. He was talking about his lifetime. And I said, wow, that's a lot of phenomena you've seen. But numerous other people have said it too. And here we stand, and there you stand and sit. Oh, you're able to sit. Oh, that's good. See, we supply chairs. How many people do that? Nobody else supplies chairs. Nobody else does that. Only Trump. Only Trump. That's good. These lights are so bright, I can hardly see who's out. That's a good crowd of people. Wow. That's great. And thank you. Thank you very much. But the system is rigged. And, you know, we went through the primary system, and we did have problems here because, you know, it wasn't a vote. And somebody said I did really well in the polls, and as soon as they saw how well I did in the polls, they went to a delegate system where they just appoint the delegates, and it's all right. It all worked out well. It all worked out well. You know what? In the end, it doesn't matter. Here we are, right? It doesn't matter. And you have some terrific people in the state, very smart, very good, and they're going to really be helping us in November and before November, but I know how hard they're working in Colorado, and we're going to have tremendous. I think we're going to have a tremendous victory here. A couple of things before I really get going. Colorado, NRA, they're like synonymous. The NRA endorsed me. We're going to save your Second Amendment 100%. We're saving your Second Amendment. And I have to tell you, the NRA, these are terrific people. They're terrific people. They love the country. And they take a lot of heat. And they don't have the easiest job, I will tell you. But they love the country. Wayne and Chris and all of the other people I've met from the NRA. And they gave me, I think, the earliest endorsement they've ever given under these circumstances. And they gave me a very early endorsement. I was very honored by it. But I've gotten to know them. And they love our country. Okay, they love the Second Amendment, but they love our country. So you have to remember that about the NRA, because what they do is not easy. It's not easy. And they're saving the Second Amendment for you. So just remember that. And I'm going to be representing them very well in that regard. The other that we have to talk about is the evangelicals have been so amazing to me. We had an event the other day in New York, right? Any evangelicals in the room? Any evangelicals? But we had an event, and Ben Carson called me, who was a great guy. We love Ben Carson. And he called and he said, you know, Donald, I'd love you to get with the evangelical leaders and Christian leaders all throughout the United States. Not a big deal. It'll take you maybe 15 or 20 minutes. But maybe you could see them and maybe, I think it's a good thing for you to do. Now, I've won with the evangelicals in many, many of the states, South Carolina and Nevada and like all over the place. We've had great, great success. The South, Alabama, Arkansas, all over. And we've had unbelievable relationships and unbelievable success. But Ben wanted me to do it. As you know, when Ben got out, and he did really well. He was tough. He was a great competitor. He did really, really well when he ran. And he got out, and he called me, and he said, I love what's going on. You have a movement going on. This isn't like a normal thing. This is a movement. I would love to endorse you. I said, Ben, I would love to have your endorsement. Plenty of people are calling saying, we want to endorse you, and it's never been that important to me. I will say this, Bobby Knight in Indiana was important, right? Bobby Knight was important. But I said, I'd love to endorse you. Then he comes up and he goes, I'd love to meet. Now, it's not a big deal. Maybe 150, maybe 200 people. And they could be here in a month in New York, but it would be a great thing. So all of a sudden, the time comes, and my people come in. They say, Mr. Trump, you won't believe it. It's packed. I said, I'll believe it, because it's always packed. But it's the largest group of clergy, ministers, pastors, evangelicals, Christians, the largest group they've ever had by far, over 1,000. And they wanted to know, could we take 2 to 3 hours? So this was the 50. Ben is one of the greatest salesmen I know, right? He said, small group, 15 minutes. Turned out to be a large group, 3 hours. But it was an amazing event. It was an amazing, and I learned, but it was just an incredible group of people. Franklin Graham was there, and Jerry Falwell Jr. from Liberty College, who's a fantastic guy, and so many people, friends, real friends. Ralph Reed. We've had so many friends and people that have really been helpful to me. And as an example, Liberty College, everybody goes through Liberty College. And we all make a speech. They have one of the most beautiful auditoriums, one of the most beautiful colleges I've ever seen, actually. And one of the most incredible auditoriums. And it holds 12,000 people, something like that. And I have the all-time record for attendance, which is really important. I got that 2 years ago. And I said, is it still intact? They said, yes. And I broke it this time. And I said, good. That's good. And they had closed-circuit television because the room was too small, even as big as it was. In all the classrooms, all over the school, they had closed-circuit television. And we had an amazing time. And to get the support, and everybody went there. I think every candidate went there. And because of what it represents, such importance. And what happened is, in the end, Jerry calls, he says, I want to endorse you. And that had such a huge impact because he's so respected. The school is so respected, the college, the university, so respected. And getting Jerry's support was such a great thing for me. So I just wanted to thank him. But I wanted to thank everybody because that was an amazing day we had about a week ago in New York City. It was packed and it was full of love. I will tell you that. It was full of love. So we'll talk for a little while about what's going on. I'm going to tell you some of the ideas that we want to have. I wrote down some notes in the plane because I didn't know I had this glass standing up here. In fact, it says right now, number 1, number 2. That's not meant for me. I want to thank Sarah Palin for being here because Sarah's great. Well, Sarah's a special person, and Sarah's another one where it came out of the blue. And she liked what I was saying. And she was also close with many of the other people that were running. And the word came back to me that Sarah was very interested. And we called her. And I can tell you there were very, very disappointed people that I was running against. On the Republican side, I'm talking about. And they were very, very disappointed when Sarah came out for me. I'll tell you, that was a big event. And she's so loyal and so amazing, and her family is so amazing. Her husband's an incredible guy. And for her to come here again and to say hello to you folks is just really something special. So I really appreciate that Sarah Palin was able to come here. So I wrote some notes now. Sarah has a big group. We do love Sarah, right? Look at that. Wow. I'm not surprised. For good reason, by the way. So I want to give you some of the goals just quickly and easily, and you'll understand what they are. But, you know, the other night on television I was looking, and certainly terrorism's actually number 2, I was surprised. It'll probably be number 1 pretty soon, because what's going on today in Israel, there was a horrible killing, and then there was another horrible killing in Oregon, and there was another one. I mean, what's going on now is unbelievable. People that shouldn't be allowed in. People that shouldn't be here. And we're going to have strong borders, folks. We're going to have strong borders. We're going to have the wall. And we're going to let people come into our country that should come into our country, and they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally. And we want them to come in. But they're going to come into our country legally. But one of the things I noticed, because it was on one of the networks where they had them listed in order, and actually they had the economy number 1, and I'm number 1 on the economy. That's good. And in fact, Rasmussen just came out with a poll yesterday afternoon, and Trump is number 1. I'm up 4 points. Can you believe that's nice. We're going to do very well. We're going to do. You know, in the primaries, one after one, bing, bong, bing. And people would said, what happened? Just one after another. And, you know, we have the right message. And I'm just the messenger. I'm doing a good job as a messenger, I will say, okay? But I'm just a messenger, believe me. It's what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying about what's going on. And it's getting stronger. I think the message is getting stronger. We're being destroyed by trade, which we'll talk about. We're being destroyed at our borders, which we'll talk about. And we're allowing people to come into our country from Syria and other places that shouldn't be allowed to come into our country. We have no idea who they are, where they're from. We have no idea what's going on. They have no paperwork. They have no documentation. They could be ISIS. I used to say they're probably not, but now I say many of them probably are. You see what's happening in Germany. You see what's happening in Sweden. You see what's happening in some of these countries where they're taking them in. It's a nightmare. And I have a bigger heart than anybody, or as big as anybody in this room. And I will tell you, we're going to do safe zones in Syria. We're going to get other people to pay for them. The Gulf states have a lot of money. People don't ask them to pay. Trump is going to ask them to pay. You're going to have to pay. And we'll get it done. Believe me, we'll get it done. So one thing I just wanted to say, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Healthcare was third on the list. And honestly, I was surprised to see it. Healthcare on this list. It was the economy, it was terrorism, and it was healthcare, which tells you something. You know, in Texas, they go through Blue Cross Blue Shield. They had a 60% increase. You're going to have an increase like you've never seen before on November 1st. Now, they're trying to delay the increase till after the election. We can't let that happen because this increase is an election-changing increase. Now, I hope we don't even need that. But this is an election-changing increase that you're going to get. I'm hearing numbers like higher than the numbers in Texas. So 60% in Texas going through Blue Cross, Blue Shield. You got the Obamacare. 60% increase. Think of it. Unimaginable. Well, it's also horrible because your premiums are going up, your deductibles are through the roof. And unless you die a really, really severe long-term death, you're not going to use it because your deductibles are so high. Your deductibles are through the roof. And people don't even get to use it. So they're paying more than ever, and they don't get to use it. And we're going to change that. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, and we're going to get something so much better and so much less expensive. Okay. I already talked about the fact we're going to save the Second Amendment, right? That's a biggie. We're going to eliminate job-killing regulations. The regulations in this country are killing us. We're going to have massive tax reform and simplification, a big lowering of the taxes, the biggest of anybody by far. Hillary Clinton is raising your taxes. She's raising your taxes substantially, and there won't be simplification. We're lowering your taxes. You watch what's going to happen with the economy. We're lowering your taxes, big league, and tremendous simplification. We're lowering business taxes. We're going to allow money. We have trillions of dollars outside of the United States owned by really the corporations have this money. They can't get it back into the country. And everybody agrees Republicans, Democrats, that it should come back in. They can't make a deal. That's a deal that would take 5 minutes sitting around a room. But there's no leadership. So we have trillions of dollars. Who would not want to make that deal? They say $2.5 trillion. I say it's over $5 trillion. But whatever it is, it's massive. And companies, corporate inversion. Companies are leaving the United States because taxes are too high. But they're also leaving to get their money. They can't get their money back in. So they leave to get their money. So it's crazy. We're going to appoint Supreme Court justices who you're going to be very happy with. Such a big thing. And these are justices that will uphold the Constitution of the United States and fully uphold it, right? And you know what's going to happen. And I sort of get a kick. You have these people. Look, it was a tough campaign. It was a brutal campaign. Some of the people that do this professionally said it was the most brutal campaign in the history of politics in this country. I don't know if that's true or not, but we started off with 17 people, and there were a lot of bad things said, and there was one person that came out, and I understand. I understand. But they were really nasty to me, and I was really nasty to them. And some of them just can't understand the importance of a victory for the Republicans. And one of the best things we can say are the judges, because, we can talk about the strong military. We're going to do all of the things. But the judges, we're going to appoint at least 3. You have Scalia, who is great, and who would have thought that was going to happen? That wasn't going to be for many years. And all of a sudden, Justice Scalia was gone. So you have that one before you start. And then you probably have 2 more. You could even have 3. And you could even have 4 more. I mean, frankly, you got a lot. Probably going to be a record in the history of this country for a president. Could have as many as, you could have, including Justice Scalia, you could have as many as 5. Probably we'll have 3. But that's the difference between having our country as a great country and having Venezuela, okay? And you see what's happening over there. Believe me. Where they're fighting over loaves of bread in the street. I mean, that's a tremendous thing. And what I did, because I've only been doing this for 12 months, so what I've done, in fact, they said one of the articles had, it was 211 years of experience. They added up everybody. They had 211 years versus 11 months. And look who won. Isn't that good? I mean, don't we get credit for that? I think experience is a great thing, but I think we're getting tired of the experience because the experience wasn't working, folks, right? But because of the fact that I haven't been out there as a politician, people know me, but I haven't been out there as a politician, a lot of people have said to me, Senator Sessions, who's a fantastic man, and others, they've said, it wouldn't be bad. And I actually went in with the idea because I was getting criticized. They said, well, what happens if he appoints judges that we don't like? So I went to the Federalist Society, which is sort of the gold standard. Now, Hillary Clinton said the gold standard of trade deals is TPP. Now she's taken that back. You saw that, right? When you mentioned TPP will destroy you, folks. It will destroy. It'll take any vestige that we still have left in our country. It will destroy you. And she said it. Now, what happened is when she heard me being very critical of it, she realized I was right. So she said now she's against it, but she's going to approve it in 2 seconds if she ever won. And that will be as bad or worse than NAFTA, which was, by the way, signed by her husband, okay? So it will be. So I went out and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick 10 judges or 11 judges, and we'll see what happens. And I picked 11, gotten from the Federalist Society, run through by a lot of great politicians that I know that are highly respected, senators and congressmen and great people. And loved, went through Heritage, who's great, Jim DeMint in the group, who's a great guy. Jim is a great guy. We like Jim. Listen to you people. Wow. He is a great guy. Then we ran him through Heritage, and these are 11 people. I think I'm going to pick 4 more. So I have 15. And I'll pick from that list or people like that, exactly like that. And we're going to have great judges. And it had a big impact. But you still have people out there, and it's just one of those things. One of the things I'm most proud about is that
in the history of the Republican Party, with 17 people running, I had the most votes of anybody that's ever run in the primaries. We had almost 14 million votes. Think of it. Won 37 states. Next time it's going to be Colorado, by the way. Colorado is not in that 37. Don't worry. If it was, I'd still be here today. But we had 37 states, and we had the largest number of votes. Now, when you think about it, almost 14 million votes, and it wasn't even close. Ronald Reagan, who we love. You have the Bushes. You have Dwight D. Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, everybody. You have everybody. Just so much more than anybody else. It wasn't even close. But think of it. They would run against 2 people, 1 person, 4 people. When you break that record and you're running against 17 very capable people, that's really a record that is pretty amazing. More amazing than even just winning. So I was very honored by that. We're going to protect our country from terrorism. Okay, folks? We're going to protect our country from terrorism. We are going to be so tough. We are going to be so smart and so vigilant. And we're going to get it so that people turn in people when they know there's something going on. Like in San Bernardino. People saw bombs all over these people's floors. They had bombs all over the floor. They saw it. People saw it. And they talked about racial profiling and profiling. We didn't want to turn them in because we didn't want to get accused of profiling. Give me a break. You know what that is? That's a lawyer telling them, listen, you better say that because otherwise you're in big trouble. But people have to turn people in. And if they don't turn them in, we're going to have so many of these things. What happened in Orlando is disgraceful. Disgraceful that a thing like that can happen. And then they don't want to mention what happened. We have a president that doesn't want to mention what really happened. It's called radical Islamic terrorism, right? That's what happened. And you have crooked Hillary Clinton that didn't want to mention it either, but we shamed her into it, but she still hasn't mentioned it. She said, I will say, and then she didn't quite use the expression the way it should be. But I will say radical Islam. I will say it. Okay. But she's never said it yet. She said she will say it because we shamed her into it. Just like we shamed her into going against TPP. Was that the only reason she didn't do it? She'll do it, but not for the election. Because people are sick and tired of being ripped off with our jobs leaving our states, with our jobs leaving our country, with the money. They get the money, they get the jobs, we get nothing. We get unemployment. That's what we get. We get unemployment and no taxes. And folks, we can solve that situation so easily. That situation is so easily solved. I've been watching for a long time, and I've been watching it very, very closely, how the government is trying to stop jobs from leaving our country. I left yesterday in New Hampshire, where I see building after building just got wiped out. New England, one of the worst places in terms of that. Upstate New York, a disaster. Pennsylvania, a disaster. Maryland, Connecticut, all states that I won in massive numbers. I mean, I had a series of states, 5 or 6 states in a row, where I won every single county in every single state. A lot of that, thank you. You know, starting with New York and starting with all of these great states, and there was love. I went to West Virginia, and Hillary said, we're going to put the miners out of business. We're going to put the mines and the miners out of business. She then went, got a couple of miners back there. She then went to West Virginia. Can you believe it? And she apologized, but the statement was made, folks. That's what she's going to do. These are liars. These are liars. She tried to convince people. She tried to convince people that what she said she didn't mean. Let's go. Remember, she was sitting down with a coal miner in West Virginia whose family's been devastated. And I had we had an event in West Virginia, and it was very interesting because after I won New York, for some reason, I said, we're going to put the miners back to work. And I didn't say it even for a reason. I didn't even know which was next, and West Virginia was going to be on the list. But West Virginia, we have such a lead. I think we have a 25 or a 29-point lead in West Virginia, as an example, and in other places. In other places. We're doing great in Pennsylvania. We're doing great in Ohio. We're doing great sort of everywhere, much better than the press would have you believe, although the polls have really gotten much tighter in the last few days. But, I mean, much, much tighter. So we're going to win what? Colorado, we got to win this one. Man. Oh, if we lose this. But, and we do have to win Colorado. I'll be back a lot. Don't worry about it. I'll be back a lot. It's going to be, I see the poll. We're either even or 1 point up in Colorado, so we got to lift that up a little bit. But we're going to be back. We'll be back a lot. No, it's very important. It's a very important state in terms of winning the election. A very, very important state. We have states where, we have a tremendous lead and where they have a tremendous lead. One of the things that's happening with us is that we play, meaning us, meaning me, play in a lot of states that a Republican, more traditional Republican, doesn't play. We're going to do great in states like Michigan. I think we're going to do great. They've been devastated by job loss. They've been devastated. I think we're going to do great in Illinois. Normally a Republican, if somebody else won, they would never go to Illinois. I'm going to spend a lot of time in Illinois. I'm going to spend a lot of time in Michigan. I think we're going to win. I've been talking about cars moving to Mexico, car companies, Ford, moving to Mexico for 2 years, long before I even knew we'd be in this position. Nobody has been better to the state of Michigan and to the car industry than me in terms of what I'm saying and what I'm going to do to get the car companies back, number one, and to keep them from moving, because they're going to continue to move like you've never seen before if I don't win. We're going to have job loss like you've never seen ever before if I don't win. So I think we're going to play great in Michigan. Even in Connecticut, there was a poll that came out. This is a state that I love. I have so many friends that live in Connecticut. But this is a state that a Republican, a traditional Republican, would never spend one afternoon in terms of getting votes. And I'm going to spend a lot of time in Connecticut. And we may even give a shot to New York and California because we have tremendous crowds. We're getting 30, 35,000 people going to these places. So we're going to play in a lot of states that normally, obviously, Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida, those are your states that everybody says you have to win, you have to win. But I think we have a lot more leeway than anybody else running for office from the Republican Party. And I think we're going to do great in these places. We want to uphold, totally uphold, the rule of law, not being upheld. Not being upheld. Okay? We want to cut down on the unbelievable crime that's pouring in and the crime rate generally. Okay? We want to keep our children safe. We want to keep ourselves safe. But we have to. We have to. So many friends of mine, Jamil, as an example, Shaw, his son was killed by a person that came into this country, an illegal immigrant, should have never, ever been here. Kate, as you remember from San Francisco, shot viciously by somebody that was sent out of the country 5 times and will probably get off. I see the lawyer and they're saying, oh, maybe it wasn't him, and oh, it's terrible. It'll go on for years and years and years. What happened to Kate, and so many others. And we're going to have a country where we can be free to walk around and free to walk the streets and free to look at the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge with your father, like Kate was doing, and then shot from nowhere. We're going to have a country that's going to be safe again. Just remember that. We're going to have a country that's going to be safe. And we're not going to play games. We're not going to be politically correct, perhaps. But we're going to have a country that's going to be safe. We're going to make our government so important, responsible to the people, not to the special interests. The special interests control your government, folks. The special interests. I mean, you see what happened today where Bill Clinton goes in the other day into an airplane. Just happened to be, just a coincidence, you know. He just happened to be at the airport at this time. Think of it. Just happened to be at the airport. You know, when I first heard the story, I said, no, you're kidding. I don't believe it. I thought somebody was joking. But it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's a very serious thing. And to have a thing like that happen is so sad. And as you know, Hillary is so guilty. She's so guilty. I mean, you can read them right off here. And how that's not being pursued properly. And I think that he really opened it up. He opened up a Pandora's box, and it shows what's going on, and it shows what's happening with our laws and with our government. But if you think that he just happened to be at the airport, because nobody really, and he may have, and honestly, he may have left and gone someplace, but it seems like, he's talking about golf and grandchildren. I love my grandchildren so much. But if I talk about them for more than about 9 or 10 seconds, I love my grandchildren. I love that one. I love that one. I love that one. And look at the beautiful, I love these kids. After that, what are you going to say, right? I love those kids. They're the great 8. I love them. I love my children. I love my children. My children are going to be speaking at the convention. My children are all going to be speaking. Ivanka, Tiffany, Don, Eric, they're going to be speaking. My wife is going to be speaking at the convention. We're going to have a great time. And then you have to talk about golf for the rest of the time. And, I love golf, but after talking for a couple of minutes, it's hard to talk about it much longer than that. And above all, what we're going to do, so important, we're going to put America first. I have to say it. We don't put America first. We don't put America first. We don't put America first. And we have to. So when we look at what's going on in our country, and when we see all of the mistakes that are being made, and we see all of the corruption and all of the horrendous politicians, and by the way, I have to tell you, some great politicians too. I've met some people that are great people. These are great people. And they love the country and they're there for the right reasons. But you meet so many that aren't. You just meet so many that aren't. And we do deal in a rigged system. It's a rigged system. And I learned so much during the primaries. I won, as an example, I won in New Orleans. I went to make a speech. Louisiana. I was in New Orleans and made a speech. I then went into Louisiana, flew into the airport in Louisiana. There was this massive hangar, and it was the night before the election. And I gave a speech, and it was just great. We had so many, thousands and thousands of people. The airport, the hangar was packed. It was a massive room, probably 3 times, 4 times bigger than this room. It was packed. And that was the night before the election. I said, how can I lose? How can I lose? And I didn't lose. I won. And I wasn't expected to win. I won a lot of things that I wasn't expected to do. And I won. Easily, but I won. And everything was good. And then about 2 weeks later, they're showing delegate counts to me. Sir, you did this, you did this, you did that. I said, oh, that's good. What about this one? That's wrong because I won that state, right? Yes, sir, you did. But I have less delegates than the people that lost. And that's when I realized it's rigged, folks. It's rigged. But I got smart fast. I got smart very fast. And one of the things that we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on more than almost anything because, look, we need safety. We need borders. We're going to have the wall. We're building the wall, and the wall is necessary. And we're going to have a great relationship with Mexico. It's going to be very important. But we're going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. You understand that. No, they're going to pay for the wall. And we're going to have trade, and we're going to have lots of good things happen with Mexico. Mexico doesn't like us right now. Mexico doesn't respect our leaders. Remember Sergeant Tamburisi? Remember? They couldn't get him out of prison, right? Greta was very helpful. I think I was helpful. At least I helped them. But couldn't get him out. And he was there for a long time, long time, in one of the meanest, worst prisons in the world, they say. Horrible place. We couldn't get him out. Should have gotten him out. I'm not sure the president even made a phone call. I will tell you something. When things like that happen, if I'm president, I know they say, oh, it's not presidential, you shouldn't do that. But things like that happen, if I'm president, I promise you, I'll be making phone calls, folks. I'm going to be making phone calls. I mean, I'm not really sure that he ever even made a phone call. Certainly there was no rush. It's sort of like the horrible deal that we made with Iran. Iran has become a power. We have made over the last few years, between Hillary Clinton and John Kerry, it was one of the worst negotiators I've ever seen. How about he goes out and he breaks his leg in a bicycle race? Can you believe this? He's in the middle of negotiating the deal. And he's got all this stuff on. He's got the whole deal, the companies, the whole deal, the helmet. He's got everything going. I promise you, I swear to you, I will never be in a bicycle race during a major negotiation. I promise. Never, never. But how about that deal? And if you look, Iran was a country that was in deep trouble. They were doing badly. And then we took the sanctions off. And we should have never taken the sanctions off before we finished the deal. We took the sanctions off before. You know why they're great negotiators? They said, we will not negotiate unless you take the sanctions off. And our guys said, okay. That's what they say. And when they said that, why didn't we say we want our prisoners back? Okay? Because our prisoners were there for years after that started. It's like 101, Trump, the art of the deal, right? 101. We say, okay. And we took the sanctions off. We got nothing for that. They agreed to sit down. They were dying. They were choking. And instead of saying, we'll take the sanctions off, but there's two things. Number one, you got to release our prisoners right now. Number two, we're not going to give you $150 billion back, okay? We're not giving it back. And they're going to say, no way, no way. You know, they're great negotiators. The Persians are great negotiators. They're going to say, no way. In a million years, no way. Then you leave. See, Kerry never got up and left, right? Never got up and left. Then you leave, and by the time you get back to the United States, don't even get off the plane. It's going to turn around and go back. You'll have your prisoners, and you won't have to pay the $150 billion back. So sad. Because I'm all for making deals. I think it's great. You know, to make deals on nuclear is a good thing, not a bad thing. But you got to have good deals. This is a deal that's ruinous to Israel, in my opinion. I think this deal is a disaster for us, but it's a disaster, and even a bigger disaster for Israel. So we're going to have great deals made. We're going to make smart deals. If you think about it, so you had Iran, which was choking, which had they were literally going to bust up. I mean, they were at a point where they were going to remember the riots, and then Obama gave the regime solace, and they just took care of those riots so easily. There was a time when that could have all changed. It could have all changed. So instead, we have a power, a real power that's fighting us. How about we make a deal? They're in Yemen. We're fighting them in Yemen. We make a deal, but we don't make a deal. We don't talk about Yemen. And when asked about why we didn't discuss Yemen, because we're fighting Iran on the other side, right? We're going like this. Well, why didn't you put that into the deal? And Kerry said it was too complicated. What's complicated? What's complicated? We're giving all this stuff away. And they'll have nuclear weapons. They can buy nuclear weapons with the money they have. They become a real power. And now they're on the side of Assad. And, you know, that whole debate we'll have to talk about because, you know, I disagree with a lot of the things that a lot of people have been saying about the Middle East and about what we're doing. You know, it's very interesting. We spend tremendous amounts of money protecting other nations that are very, very wealthy. Japan, Germany, Saudi Arabia, South Korea. We spend money. In South Korea, we have 28,000 soldiers on the line between them and the madman, right? We have 28,000. Every time he acts up, we start sending our ships, our planes, our boats. You turn on one of those ships, it costs you $2 million, right? I would say, don't turn on the engine. Save the money. Don't, please. The captain would say, sir, would you like to hear the engine? I'd say, if it was me, I'd say, no, just save the money, relax. The engine's fine. But it's true. It's true. I mean, that's what they are. It's a different thinking, right? A lot of business people in here, it's a different thinking. There's so much waste. There's so much fraud. There's so much abuse. So we spend all of this money, and I don't want to see them armed, ideally. I don't want to see them armed. But you always have to be prepared to walk, like Kerry should have walked with Iran. He should have walked, and then he should have said, double up the sanctions, and believe me, you'll be back there within 2 days. All right? And most of that's flying time. No, that's what he should have. But you have to be prepared to walk. He never walked, okay? So he never walked. So what happened with Kerry, and what happens with all of us, is we have the wrong people. We have the greatest negotiators in the world. Anywhere in the world, we're the greatest negotiators. But we don't use them. We use political hacks. So with Germany, with Japan, with Saudi Arabia, which has nothing but money. If we weren't protecting Saudi Arabia, Turkey? Are you from Turkey, sir? Good, congratulations. I actually have a very nice job in Turkey. He's saying, please mention Turkey. Okay. I think he's friend. Are you friend or foe? Huh? I think he's friend. But no, it's true. Turkey, and I do. We have investments in Turkey. I have investments at a lot of different places. But I will tell you, and Turkey, by the way, should be fighting ISIS. I hope to see Turkey go out and fight ISIS, because ISIS has, in a certain sense, taken very serious advantage of Turkey. They've taken advantage. And Turkey has a tremendously powerful military, and they could wipe ISIS out by themselves. I would love to see that. How would we love to see that? Because it looks like it was ISIS that did all the damage in the airport. That was Turkey. So I think Turkey is all of a sudden going to change and say, that's enough for this. And Turkey has the power to do it, and they have the power to do it all by themselves. They could do it, and they could do it pretty swiftly, too. So with all of these countries, we pay for the military, big portions, disproportionately. So I said, we have to get them to pay us. And I have a very good plan. I was right on NATO. You know, when I first when they asked me about NATO, and I first said my statement, it's obsolete and they don't cover terrorism like they should. And on top of that, the countries of NATO aren't paying what they're supposed to be paying. It was on television. Everybody smiled. Oh, that's so funny. Funny. Like we're a joke. Funny. Then about 4 days later, they said, you know, Trump was sort of right. You have these people that study NATO, but they're so close to it. They're so totally close to it. They can't see the forest for the trees. Does that make sense? So about 4 days later, they said, you know, I said NATO's obsolete, and they don't have terrorism the way it should have. They don't even have the right countries for terrorism, actually. But they don't have terrorism as a big thing. And we're paying for so much, and a lot of these countries aren't paying what they're supposed to be paying, many of them. So we're protecting all these countries. They're not even paying us what they're supposed to be paying, and that's too little. So I made that statement, and I'm telling you, for 3 or 4 days, it was like Donald Trump doesn't know. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert on NATO. Nobody ever asked me about NATO before. But I have a lot of common sense, and I have a lot of business sense. I built this great company. I built an unbelievable company. I have business sense. So 3 or 4 days later, all of a sudden, they start saying, you know, what Trump just said makes a lot of sense. Gee, So 2 weeks ago, I pick up the Wall Street Journal, and on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, headline, NATO to develop new unit for terrorism. That's what I told them. And then it announced one of the top people in the world, it is NATO, right? But one of the top people to be put in charge. Okay? I said, that's what I said. Now, my name was mentioned in the bottom. They said, Donald Trump complained. Oh, great. I didn't complain. I said NATO is obsolete because of that. That didn't mean abandon NATO. It didn't mean anything. Either you fix it or you have to develop something having to do with terrorism, but it's obsolete. We have a different world today than we had 40 years ago and 60 years ago. We have a different world. Even the Soviet Union is now Russia, but let's say Russia's damn strong, so leave it for that. But you know what? It's a different world. And I see things that a lot of people don't. I said, take the oil. You shouldn't. I also said, don't go into Iraq. It's a big mistake. You're going to destabilize the Middle East. They went in. But I also said, don't go out the way we went out. We just went out. President Obama announced we're going to be out by a certain date. The only thing deceptive about that was the enemy said nobody would have said that. So I don't think they believed it. And then the date happened, we left. And, you know, this all led to the formation of ISIS and lots of other things. But I said, when you go out, take the oil, right? How long have I been saying that? For years. And, you know, on television, they say, before I did that, they say, what is your plan? What is a plan? I said, I don't want to really say, because I have a really good chance of being elected. And I don't want to talk about it. You know, General Patton didn't sit on television and say, let's see, on July 16th, we're going to attack ISIS from behind. Were they going to knock out a battalion over here, and we're going to drop so many bombs at this quadrant, and we're going to get, here's my plan. And by the way, everything, do you ever notice? Everything we do, it's always hard because we always have to say. So I say to the television people, I don't want to really tell you. I was on Bill O'Reilly the other night. I said, Bill, I don't want to really talk about it. Believe me, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS. I don't want to really too much talk about it. But here's the problem. You got to get elected, so you got to talk about it. It's a little defective. You got to get elected, so you got to talk about it. So I said I'd go in with NATO, and I'd make NATO do something. And I'd go in, and I'd also get all of the countries around there that are really involved and have to be involved. And I'd go, and you got to clean it up, because these people are chopping off heads. They're drowning people. We're not allowed to waterboard, right? We can't waterboard. They're allowed to chop off heads. They're allowed to drown people. I said the other day, when they go home and they're together and they just chopped off 50 heads, drowned 200 people, and then they say, in the United States, they don't allow waterboarding. They think we are so stupid. They think we are so weak. They have no respect for us whatsoever. And remember this, the only thing they understand is strength. They don't understand kindness. They don't understand political correctness. The only thing they understand is strength and toughness. And we're weak. We're weak. And Hillary is weak as you get. Hillary is a weak person. She's a weak person. They will not understand Hillary. They want her to get in so badly. The last person they want to see become president of the United States, believe me, is Donald Trump. I can tell you that. That's the last person. They have dreams at night, and their dreams are that Hillary Clinton becomes president of our country. Believe me. So we need to show toughness. We need to show strength. We have to level the playing field. We don't have a level playing field. We don't fight to win anymore. We don't win anymore. We don't win with the economy. We got China ripping us off. We have Japan ripping us off. We have Mexico beating us at the border, beating us on trade, taking all of our companies. I mean, they're taking tremendous numbers of companies. It's unbelievable. I think one of the reasons I won Indiana is that the air conditioning company, Carrier, announced they were leaving. They're going to fire 1,400 people who went to my speeches. They were all over the place. Every time I said, who's here from Carrier? All these hands would be raised. 1,400 people fired viciously and stupidly because Carrier was moving, and they're from Indianapolis. Carrier was moving to Mexico. I think it had a huge, because I won. You remember that was going to be the firewall for the other people that were running against me. And it was a firewall for me. I won with a landslide, right? Now, having Bobby Knight helped a lot. But I will tell you, they and New York and New England and every place, Pennsylvania, big league, we have our companies leaving. So that happens. We're going to stop that. We're going to stop that cold. And we're going to be so strong. And we're going to be so smart. And we're going to start winning again. We're going to start winning like we have never won before. We don't win anymore as a country. We don't win for our vets. We're going to take care of our vets, by the way. We don't win for our vets. We don't win for anything. We don't win for our pride. We don't win anymore. And it's going to stop. We're going to be victorious in so many different ways. As an example, Common Core. We're bringing our education back locally. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're going to bring our education local. Our education system is a mess, and a big reason is Common Core. So we're going to start winning again, folks. We're going to win with our military. We're going to win for our vets. We're going to win with education. We're going to win with healthcare. We're going to win big, big, big with trade. We're not going to have these deficits of $500 billion a year losses. We have with China $505 billion a year. They laugh at us. And everyone talks about free trade. I was asked the other day, they said, well, what's your, I know free trade so much. I know free trade, fair trade. I can give you 20 different names. Okay? They said, well, what's your definition? What do you like? I said, I like trade where we make great deals for the United States. That's what I like. That's my definition. That's my definition of trade. I know every form of trade. I know every form of taxation. We're going to make great deals for the United States. We have the greatest negotiators in the world. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We're going to make great deals for the United States. So we're going to bring our money back. We right now owe China $1.8 trillion. We owe Japan $1.6 trillion. Think of it. Japan sends us millions of cars, and we owe them $1.6 trillion. You know what I call that? A magic act in reverse. It's like a magic act. So, folks, we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much that the people of Colorado are going to be sick of winning. You're going to say, oh, I can't stand it. This guy, this president, he wins too much. We're not used to it. We can't take it. And your representatives and our great head of the Republican Party, who is a great guy, by the way, and I thank you for introducing me. I'm going to get calls in the White House. Mr. President, please, sir, please, we don't want to win this much. We're winning too much. My people in Colorado are going crazy. We just don't want to win. Not that much, just a little bit. I'll say, no way. We're going to win, 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 and we're going to make America great again, okay? So I want to thank you all. I love you, folks. Get out there. Get out there and vote. We got to get out there and vote. And I want to thank you. Thank you, everybody. I love you, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's Colorado Trump country. Wow, what a treat, what a morning, and we're just getting started. So we're going to break now for lunch. I do want to make some very important announcements about what's happening outside right now. There are protesters out there.